Hello. Very good afternoon to one and all. First of all, welcome to Fosdem. Seeing a lot of geeks around here. Yeah. Uh, Topic for like my session is persona. Like, how many of you actually know or about heard about persona? Can I have some hands? Okay. So yeah, persona is generally it's login system. It's similar to uh, single sign-on, but let's see how it is different and why you have to opt for this, and how we can on which protocol it's working, and we'll see its specs and all. So how Mozilla Persona is useful for users, how it is easy to implement this for developers, and how the protocol works on this. So Mozilla Persona, as I said, it's better way to sign in or a login system like single sign-on. So this basically helps users to log in quickly on secure manner, and it doesn't ask you a password. So it's something which is different from single sign-on. So when you do single sign-on, we need to actually depend on third parties, like in order to authenticate the credentials, right? And it asks to share your privacy information, like maybe your phone number. Like, let's consider an example. Whenever we log in through Facebook, via Facebook, or to any other site, it asks you to share information, to access the information of your email and phone number, or so that we get a lot of mails, and they can post on your wall without asking your permission. And it also has many privacy issues. So like I'll just show you like what's the current state of sign. So this is how, when we see a website, it asks you to log in via Google or Facebook or Yahoo. So when you say these kind of errors we come across when even we use when try to log in via Facebook and all. So, and this is the main concern of everyone, that everyone's information is being shared on social, so which in turns have like lot of. So the better way to sign in is use Mozilla Persona, which actually helps you to sign in very easily. Just create an account, and next it asks you to enter your email ID. So the Persona mainly takes email addresses as a unique values and then proceeds for the login. So you can this is like a screenshot of how you manage email IDs in the browser. So, and the supported browsers are like almost every version of Firefox supports it, and remaining all. And as you know, everyone know that Mozilla Firefox has introduced the Firefox OS, and in that we natively supports this Persona sign-on. So why we have to focus specially on developers, and why it is easy for them to implement this kind of sign-in system. So as I said, it's very easy to implement. There are like about 4 steps. You just include the JavaScript file of that, and then put login buttons, and then verify it, and that's it. So I say it's a federated protocol because it doesn't actually ask you to log in via. It's like a database only with unique values of email IDs. It doesn't want any other information. So whenever you just give your email ID as a login, it actually validates if you give your email ID as @yahoo.com. So it in turns asks you for the first time to log into Yahoo, and then it actually checks whether the email ID is existing and whether it is correct or not, and then it turns back to your site, and then it's login. And as I said, it helps not to share your personal and privacy information into other websites, and you don't need to store passwords, and you don't need to rely on third parties. So again, this in turn eliminates the registration form. So whenever you visit a new website, it's horrible to register every site and keeping in memory that every website, every login and password. It's very difficult, and sometimes they ask for username, sometimes they ask for user email ID. So it's like complicated. So this persona like in turn eliminates the registration and all stuff. So again, it's open, and whenever you use this persona implementation for your websites, you don't need to whenever there is a patch submission or the next version of this system releases, you don't need to take care of again updating your source code or single sign-on system on your website. So it turn takes from the update and it just updates. So this like the freedom we give for developers is like you can change as you UX as you want, and in turn it's like translated and available in like 48 languages. And so where we actually use in Mozilla the persona login. So in like everyone knows, like Mozillians.org is very profile for every Mozillian who is actually volunteering. So in that we use this single sign-on persona, and even in Firefox Marketplace, and even Bugzilla, and even in Open Batches and Batchpack. So in the morning they were discussing about WebMaker. So in that also, in order to log in, you can just log in via persona, where it asks you the credentials. I'll just show you the demo afterwards. And there are other sites which uses persona as a login system, is like Woost, which is event management system, and this is Sting, might be like people may be knowing. This site basically deals with the amount of data used, the amount of messages and all. And discussion forum, like these are few websites which actually have implemented this persona, and it was like very success. So and even if you are, it's not like if your website is like HTML or some HTML, you can use persona. If it is like implemented on PHP, you can use this, and it has like lot of libraries and plugins as I showed you. And let me tell you, like this persona is basically working on a browser ID protocol. So let me even tell you like how that browser ID protocol works. Mainly this protocol has three actors: users, relaying parties, and identity providers. Users are quite like common who used to log in the web, and relaying parties where like let's take as example as WebMaker. Webmaker.org is like relaying party, and identity provider is something like which we use as a login. Like if at all you use Yahoo something at yahoo.com as a login, so that would be like identity provider. So like how this work, I'll just tell in like 3 steps. Like this is how when you click on sign in, it takes your email as an input, and browser ID's password, like I mean to say persona's password for the first time, and then it generates a key value pair, stores its private key in the PC, and send its public key to identity authority, and then they sign with the public key and then email ID, and they'll issue with validity interval like certificate, and then it sends that certificate again back to a user. And after it received by the user, it has to prove the ownership. So again the user's browser writes some kind of assertion in which its email ID and key and other details are present, and that assertion is again sent to relaying party like with user certificate, and then it's validated. So this is something like overview, like where your user rate you log in, and from identity provider it is like validated, and then you can just log into the website. I'll just show you a demo of that. So like in the morning they were saying like we want to like log in into webmaker site, then we have to use like login persona. It's like, so I have already used many times login. If someone could come and try, they want to log in into this site, then we can. So it's not asking me any password or anything. I'm just I'm logged in. So it's like very easy. Someone wants to try. Yeah.
Now log in from another device.
Yeah. I don't.
Would you be able to log in from another device, for example, from your phone, via that?
Like if it is Firefox browser, then with the option called Firefox Sync, if suppose you are you have logged in your desktop Firefox browser, so and you have the same sync key in your Android phone, then you can directly log in. So I think it's clear. So in this we have sync now. So this is the option I was telling about. I think I'll use my other email ID rather than this. Just remove this or else, yeah. So it's now verifying with Gmail, because I have entered at the rate Gmail. I'm already. Might be if someone wants to can try.
Are there restrictions on the email address?
As of I knew, it's with Yahoo, Gmail, Hotmail. It's working fine.
Okay.
Any email address should break. It just goes to the fallback.
Yeah.
If it's something that.
I forgot the Unicode number. It doesn't matter. Because I have a domain with a Unicode character, and it's a Google Apps domain, but I just don't have it here. Let's try this.
Yeah, mine is asking for me. It's currently. One second.
Looks suspicious.
Yeah, should work now. It's still the. Thanks.
Google is so complicated.
So now I can try.
Yeah.
Last password, remember your password.
Yeah.
Or the key lover. So how many times we just go to
Yeah, for the first time, you need to validate.
Yay! Phone call. From Saudi Arabia. No kidding.
We got it.
Cool. Very trustworthy. Absolutely. So now we all know the code.
Yeah. It only. Wow, there we go.
That's a good start. Okay, what do I do now?
You have logged into the website, so you can. Yeah.
we need one extra piece of information.
Oh.
This is valid, right?
Yeah, you're successfully logged in.
Yay.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, you should have done that in a private browsing window.
Yeah.
Pardon? Yeah. I think it will show him. I'll just try to log in mine or his. I have to remove your name.
Everybody's still logged in. So
Everybody's still logged in, so it's still live.
Verified. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. I'm done. Yeah.
a way to revoke your certificate so that if, for example, here you're looking on a different computer, it gets stored on your computer and you want
Uh,
to avoid someone is using your account with the computer. But I mean,
like, I did not understand.
is there a way to revoke the certificate?
Okay, that means to say, like,
So that here the certificate is stored on the computer.
it's.
If someone is using your computer, you can log in as well. How we can prevent you from logging in? I suspect it's stored as a cookie.
Yeah, you can go.
I think I can answer this question. You can go to login.persona.org and you can there clear all the persona logins so that it will not log you in anymore. So you can.
I think.
Can I do it from another computer?
Not yet. They're still thinking about that. When you run your personal identity provider, then you could take down your identity provider to do something like it, and that would probably work. So, for example, I have my own IDP, and if I would want to revoke any certificates that are out there for me, then I could take down my IDP to prevent people from logging in with those certificates signed with my earlier private key.
Yeah, if I understand well, if you run your own identity provider, the identity provider will be your domain of your email address.
Yes.
You log in with Gmail domain. This means Gmail support persona, or there is some kind of fallback. Sorry?
Gmail will be the identity provider. So if
Yeah.
you were to use my user. Can you repeat the question?
Yes, the question, I will repeat the question for you. The question was that you said that since identity providers are bound to the domain for the email address, and we just showed login in with Gmail, the question is if Google supports Persona, and the answer is it does not directly, but the Persona team has built a couple of bridges that allow using the Google OAuth API to act as an identity provider. So you're really logging into gmail.login.persona.org, and it uses the Gmail APIs to reuse their credentials, and that works for Yahoo and Gmail today.
Yes. Some
Does this work with Internet Explorer?
yes.
How?
Pardon?
Do you want to answer the question?
No, I think he has already said.
So yes, it does work, and it's because it's all JavaScript mostly.
Thank you. Thanks all.
Yes, a big applause for him because he has done a lot of kilometers to come here So really, he deserves. So now we are welcoming another celebrity of Mozilla, a great member of the Mozilla community, William, but is most known as Fuzzy Fox. So Fuzzy Fox works at the Mozilla Foundation on WebMaker. A part of his job is dealing with designing for participation and web literacy. So he's going to talk to you about that. He is also a Mozilla community volunteer from the United Kingdom. And tonight, you may find William in a karaoke because it's another of his specialties, and believe in me, he has just a fantastic voice. So please welcome William.
Okay, so apparently the clip-on mic not working. Never mind. So I'm Will, as Clarissa mentioned, and I work for the foundation mostly around web literacy and webmaker stuff. So this is me. My IRC handle is Fuzzy Fox, but that's the weirdest looking fox I've ever seen in the world. So not sure where that comes from. But anyway, let's go through this nice and quick, because there's a whole bunch of interactive things here. So you aren't all just going to be doing whatever you want at your computer screens the whole time. I'm going to force you to engage with other people. I'm going to force you here to actually go and make a connection with someone, whether you like it or not. So just a heads up, those of you who have got laptops out, in about 2-3 minutes, you're going to want to have those things off the desks for their safety. So, as I mentioned, I work for these guys. You probably know them because of this thing, but I work on this thing. So Mozilla is built on 4 pillars of activity, which are, when the slide finishes moving, build, empower, teach, and shape. Now, fine, that's Mozilla's pillars of activity. What has this got to do with participation? Well, Mozilla exists because of participation. And through all of the papers that I've been reading over the past few months before doing this talk, you can start to spot these things occurring everywhere. And these don't just occur within Mozilla. These kinds of activities also appear within the Ubuntu community, within Linux, within almost every open source community in the world. So why are they so important? And what is this participation thing that I keep mentioning? Because participation is a word that some people don't grasp straight away. You may think you're participating with people, and you may think you are making it easy for people to participate, but you might not. So Henry Jenkins, who is a professor at USC, said this in the middle of one of the papers, and it just kind of stood out to me. Language fail. Participatory culture shifts the focus of literacy from one of individual expression to community involvement. So participatory culture is embedded in the roots of open source culture. You can't have one without the other. So let's do a quick demonstration of that. Open source culture works because we try and make it easy for other people to reproduce things and do their own thing with the same code base. So let's do a physical demonstration, okay? I'm gonna have to let the mic go, so I'm gonna shout at you. So my apologies for shouting at you. I don't want to be mean, but technology, stay. So what I want you to do is I want you to follow along. And I'm going to try and force you to get this wrong, okay? So arms out, thumbs down. Cross one arm over the other, open your fingers, and make a fist. Okay, wiggle your thumbs, wiggle your fingers. Thumbs, little fingers. In the back, little fingers, thumbs, little fingers, thumbs. And then all you have to do, little fingers, thumbs, little fingers, keep going, keep going. All you have to do is twist like that. So that's an example of not designing for participation while designing for participation. I got you all to get involved, but you all got it wrong. Now why? Well, I didn't tell you exactly what I was doing. I showed you, but you weren't looking for it because I wasn't explicitly saying, hey, there's this step that I'm not going to tell you about, but you have to do it. So I'm not going to tell you that step right now. I'll let you try and work it out, and if you want to know the answer later, come and find me. But what we're going to do this time is do another example, but this time it's designing for participation that goes well and it acts exactly as it's supposed to. Who's heard of thumb war? A couple of people. You know, where you get your thumbs and you waggle them like this. And you have two people. You have one person and another person. And you try and keep their thumb down for 5 seconds, and the person whose thumb is on top wins. Now, there's a mass engaged version of this called, well, massive multiplayer thumb war. And this will invoke a number of emotions all at the same time: confusion, excitement, anger, hopefully not violence. But what we're going to do, we're going to try and have a go at this. So I like just a couple of people who are kind of at the edges down here. I'm going to pick on you guys because you're at the edge and you're close. If you can come up, and we're going to try and recreate that so you guys can see how the hands fit together. And then what I want you to do is I want you to reach out to as many different people that you can physically reach, even if you have to stretch across seats. And we're going to have a giant game. And the winners are going to be the people that win the thumb war with both hands. So, oh yeah, sorry, I forgot to mention, we have 2 hands, so we can play 2 at the time. The other thing is it doesn't have to just be a unit of 4, it can be a unit of as many people as you like, because we know these things called networks, right? And you have clusters in them, and, well, we've got a couple of groups here, so there's going to be a big one here, no doubt. There's probably going to be a big one up towards the back there, and there's going to be a couple of kind of people like that, stuck in the middle. But let's just try and get this hand gesture down. So in the photo, you can see all 4 hands revolving around each other. So stick your fingers out straight, always with the same hand. So everyone right-handed, and then close them up okay? And then you get a thumb war. So the thumb war historically only starts when someone counts it in, okay? And let's not have me do that, because I'm going to talk to you a lot otherwise, so.
3, 2, 1, go.
And that's cheating. And this can go on for a while. So before someone breaks something up here, laptops, put them somewhere safe. Don't just leave them on the table to get knocked off. But I now want you to turn to as many people as you can. You have 2 hands, stretch out, and have a go. This time, I have told you every possible step. So if you lose, it's just because you're bad. I want to see a connection from this group at the front all the way up to the back. You aren't getting away with it because you're all the way back there. No one start yet. It hasn't had the countdown. I've seen nodes of up to 10 hands together. Terrifying, but possible. If there's an end that doesn't connect to anything, just waggle it around furiously, but you won't win with it. Okay, everyone ready? I'm going to give you a minute, okay? You have 1 minute to beat everyone else in your thumb war. And remember, you've got 2 hands, so try and focus on both at the same time. It might help. Okay, on the count of 3, 2, 1, thumb war. As soon as you win, the hand you win with, shove it in the air. And that spare hand doesn't count still. Oh! If you've won with a hand, if you win with your right hand, stick your right hand in the air. If you win with your left hand, stick your left hand in the air. If you win with both, do the awkward giraffe. And time's up. If you won with your right hand, put your right hand in the air. If you've won with your left hand, stick your left hand in the air. If you won with both, do the awkward giraffe. Woo! Okay, so here we've actually learned a couple of things at the same time. I haven't explained it to you guys explicitly, which is wrong, but I'm going to do that now. We're all from kind of the techie scene, techie world here, whether we're coders, or we just write about this stuff, or we just like to make people look stupid, like I do. What we've actually engaged in here is not only connecting with people one-to-one, and starting to get a little bit of an idea about who they are. You can kind of tell if someone's going to cheat, that they're not the sort of person you want to let play the game with you again. But we've also started to learn about networks. So we can use physical activities to explain digital things. So a network is, as we know, a node with another node and another node connected somehow. Now we did that using our bodies and arms. And that's just one piece of digital literacy. And digital literacies, there's a lot of them. There's not one single digital literacy. There's a whole bunch, from hardware to electronics to coding to binary to you name it, it exists. Web literacy is just one of these digital literacies. And that's the other thing that I work on. And that's the other thing in the title of this talk. So what is web literacy? How do we do some kind of demonstration of that? Because the web is code, it runs in the browser. Well, I'm gonna try. But I'm gonna try and at the same time start to demonstrate a point that I'm gonna make in a bit. So there's this group called Hyper Island, and they have this entire Bible called the Energizer Bible. And Energizer is a bit of jargon, so let's explain that jargon, because it could mean a number of things. It doesn't mean batteries. or the Energizer Bunny. Like, they're not connected to this. But an Energizer is an energy booster, okay? So sitting in here all day, like that, reasonably low energy. Thumb War, doing the awkward giraffe, they use up energy, and they also raise your energy levels because you have to start using some. Your body goes, I might need more, and throws it into your system. So you can read. I'm not going to read that all to you. These slides will be online later, so you can look them up later if you want. But we're going to play the shouting game. So this room's been fairly quiet. We've made a bit of noise now. Let's make a lot of noise. And I won't shout into the microphone, I promise. But the way we're going to play this is the shouting game is very simple in principle. Everyone starts shouting as loud as they can for 2 minutes. That's it. That's the whole game. But I'm gonna hack on this. So something that you've heard in several of the presentations before me, and you may hear in some of the presentations after, is this word remix. Remix is embedded within this I can't do my own language today. Remix is embedded within participatory culture, right? It's taking an idea, making a change, and then running with it. So the change I'm making is I don't want you to shout random things, because that's what the game requires, just anything, just noise. I want you to start listing as many web-related things as you can, as loud as you can for 2 minutes. So HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Start listing properties if you run out of ideas. Start listing things like closures. This particular program, if it's related to the web, shout it. So, who's got a big voice? Who thinks they're going to be heard over this noise? This guy. All right, I'll stand further away from him then. So, on the count of 3, I want you to as loud as you can, okay? I want them to hear us in K-building. I want you to shout as many different things about CSS as you can. And I'm going to shorten this down to a minute again. So, it might help if you stand up. It might not. I'll leave it to you, but there is a little known fact, but it's scientifically proven that when you stand up, you get a bit more space for your diaphragm, you can make a louder noise. And loud noises are fun. So, on the count of 3, start listing as many things as you can, as loud as you can. 3, 2, 1. Firefox! All together! Is that all you've got? Keep going. Okay. What do sausages have to do with the web? Okay, so that's enough shouting. I think we've definitely terrified anyone wanting to come into this room. So, well done. We might have to go and say it's okay, we're not going to kill you when you come in. I don't know, sausages guy might, but whatever. So how does this tie to web literacy? Well, you all said a lot of different things, and they're all to do with the web. And web literacy is the understanding of things on the web, or things how the web works, and so on and so forth. But trying to pick out the individual words you're saying at the same time as each other, while shouting it, while trying to get your one point across, is incredibly hard. I only heard sausages because he waited till the end. I only heard CSS because he waited till the end, and everyone else had shut up. But that's not how the web works. The web is continual content, continual voices going out and trying to get heard. And that's good. That's what it should be. But there needs to be a way for people that don't understand these things to map this out, to try and work out what's kind of key to knowing how the web works, and then from there they can move on and start shouting themselves. We can start to make a louder noise. We can start to have a bigger impact. So this is the web literacy map. I'm not going to go into detail. It's something that was created by Mozilla to try and map out what you need to know to be web literate. You've got columns, which are strands, and they relate to 3 things: exploring, building, and connecting. And within those, you've got things like navigation, search, privacy. I don't know if you can see that on this screen. I can't. So go and look this up. But this is a good way to map things out that look like this. If we had all of you, everything you said in a big list, we'd end up with something like that. And this is just Bugzilla. I chose this because a lot of you are coders, a lot of you have seen a tool like this, trying to engage. Maybe not well, but I'm trying. And this is hard. For someone who's brand new, trying to get involved with something like this, it's kind of terrifying. You've got these things here that mean something, and email addresses, lots of them, and what's going on here? What's a SOP? There are better ways to do it for the new people, right? Us coders, we love this stuff. This is fine for us. For someone trying to get into this area, for someone trying to become web literate, or just digitally literate, or just get involved, terrifying. You're going to hate me in a second. There we go. So Josh Matthews created this wonderful tool, which kind of digests it down a bit. Well, I say a bit, a lot, but it does it in a good way. It's really simple. The call to action is really clear, like, what's your favorite programming language? We can all answer that question. New people, maybe not as much, but if they've had a little bit of coding experience, they probably have a bit of an opinion there. We're all very good at having opinions. And then it says, tell me more, or boring. Well, I clicked tell me more, because I know a bit of JavaScript, I kind of like it. So I get to see, oh look, there's this thing that I can get involved with. And from here I can go and explore that more. I can say, nah, I don't like that. Or I can say, oh, I don't want JavaScript anymore. What the hell is that? It's terrifying. Look at it, it's ugly. It's like you. He's completely oblivious. It's okay, I do know him. So this is a graph you'll see a lot when it comes to contribution. You've got, this is time contributed. So a lot of you guys are probably in this area. So you know how to talk to these people. These guys can look after themselves. You don't have to try and engage with these people with as much gusto. You don't have to try and dumb things down, which you don't have to do for anyone, but I'll get onto that. But these guys, they know Bugzilla, or they know GitHub issues. They like looking at it because they understand how it works. These guys are literate. Then you've got the people who are slightly less literate. And we're kind of good at dealing with those people. We're kind of okay. And when a new coder comes up, you might have the bit of a, this question again. Well, at least you answer the questions. We're okay. Then there's this entire orange section down the bottom. We're very bad at helping these people. Like, everyone is very bad at this. Even if you try to do it, you're very bad at it. But this curve is not a problem. This is what you should see. The problem is if this is really steep. If this is a really steep curve and you only have a couple of people who are literate, the guys down this end are never going to have a freaking clue what you're talking about. They aren't going to know what you mean when you start talking about C compilers. They're just going to look at you and go, yeah, there's an even line. But, so what you want to do is try and get a shallower curve. And a shallower curve is fairly easy to achieve. It doesn't mean dumbing things down. It means removing jargon, right? I had the Energizer slide up, and it had a piece of jargon in there, which you now know. You now know what Energizer means. Because I put an explanation. I explained what that piece of jargon meant. This is simply a good way to go, hey, we do a lot of things. What are you interested in? So you ask the question. You try and work out stuff to work out where you can best put them in terms of, this is an area of the community you may be interested in getting involved in. That starts to shallow that curve out because you start to go onto their playing field. You start to move people from the bottom end of that curve into the middle. And once they're in the middle, it's easier to move them up to the end. And the curve starts to shallow itself out automatically. You don't have to do much work to make that happen. 30 seconds is enough. I mean, how long does it take to write a new thing for this, like a new question? 30 seconds. See? So this is good. This is also good. This is good for people at the end. This is good for people at the top. And we don't need to be afraid of the people at the end. What we need to be is considerate and understanding that they don't understand all of the technical terms we're using all the time. They might have a good grasp of basic web development, for example. Like, they have an okay grasp of making a web page, it looks kind of okay, and it does something useful. But when you start throwing terms at them that they've never heard before, that's not going to help them. That's going to push them back out to the other end. What you want to do is, when you throw one of those terms at them, if you get a look back, then you need to start explaining things. Okay? And you don't have to dumb it down, just start going, well, this one word could be explained by 5 words without losing any meaning or context. Use the 5 words. So there's a brilliant African proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. That doesn't mean that your project has to go slow. We've already solved for that with open source. We have this thing, it's called Git. It's wonderful. Version control in general. It allows people to take the bits that they want to work on, do it quickly at their own pace, and then send it back. But the people that are doing the slower stuff, they can go at a slower pace without having any real impact on their learning or their understanding. So Mark Sermon, who is the executive director at Mozilla Foundation, said this, and it's a quote that I've used in numerous different presentations, but it has a resonating piece in it, which is that the power of the web is the idea anyone can make. So anyone, including the people at the bottom of the graph down there, they can make anything for the web, right? We all need to be web makers, and that doesn't just mean we all need to make things for the web. It means we need to help other people make things for the web as well. And this applies to things like C compilers. This applies to everything. I'm just sticking with the web literacy stuff because that's what I know. And hopefully you now know a little bit more about that, as well as a little bit more about how to design for participation. So I'm going to have like one more slide for you. And it's equation. And I did steal this slide, but I mentioned who it was at the bottom, and there's a link so you can go and watch the entire talk. It's on TED. It's really worth to watch, especially if you like women saying talk nerdy to me. That's in there a lot. But it's pretty simple. Take your science, which is your code and whatever, remove bullet points and jargon, because looking at bullet points on slides and on web pages, unless they're short and concise, horrible. Divide by relevance, and that means only give the information that's useful. Okay, so remove anything that isn't relevant. Times it by your passion. You're sat in a room in the middle of Brussels, coming from goodness knows how far away because you're passionate about your project. Represent that in your explanations. And that will equal better understanding. And better understanding means better participation. And that means moving people from the bottom of the curve towards the top of the curve and shallowing it out. So, questions? I've got 5 minutes max. Yes! Someone get a microphone to him before he starts asking me things and no one else can hear. Because that wouldn't be good for participation. That's a hard word to say sometimes.
In the slide we just saw, why did you divide by relevance?
I divide by relevance. I divide by relevance because that's what's in the original slide. I think a better thing to have in there would be divide by non-relevance. So get rid of the stuff that isn't relevant to the conversation. So if you're trying to talk about a closure, for example, in JavaScript, don't start going on how you can use these things like for the really crazy stuff on the cutting edge before you've explained what it actually does. Do the explaining first, do the relevant stuff first. You can get onto the other stuff later, it can wait. Any others? No? Okay, I'm going to be floating around in here for at least another 2 talks, so you can come find me. Oh, yeah. Can we get a microphone down here? Run, Ziggy, run!
Yeah, I start my question right now. I didn't get the message of your graph, the one with the 3 colors, and I'd really like to get it. To me, it looks like a contradiction in itself. So what I understand is the green guys, they take a long time and have little contributions.
Wrong way round. So you've got the number of contributors here. So this is like thousands and millions of people. And then you've got the amount of time they're contributing. The people that are contributing a lot of time, will typically, now there are caveats, but will typically have a good understanding already. Because if you don't have an understanding of something, you've still got to be a very determined person to keep trying to do that. And the general rule is people don't have that patience. Anyone else? No? Okay. So, if I run through these as quickly as I can, there is a slide at the back for you. Oh, come on, move quicker. So you can get in touch with me at the email address at the bottom. Yeah, and I'm out of here.
You have 2 minutes to sing us a song if you want.